Hello everyone, welcome to the Weatherlight EDH set review. Now, nowadays, every time a set comes out, we have a set review and we kind of go over the cards and look at what's good for our format. But back then we didn't have that. So I went through all the cards in the Weatherlight set and just picked it. It's not an exhaustive list by any means, but it's the cards that stuck out to me. Maybe some of the underplayed ones, maybe some of my favorites, maybe some that just, I don't know. But here's what I've got for the Weatherlight EDH cards. So first we're going to look at Ether Flash. Now, nowadays that A and that E is separate. But this card, it does keep the weenie hordes under control, for your tokens of soldiers or elves or goblins or whatever. But there's also some really interesting things that happen when you, like the enraged dinosaurs, especially Polyraptor. You have an infinite amount of Polyraptors if you cast, or if you put a Polyraptor out with an Ether Flash. You can couple that with Pandemonium, or what is that? There's several other Pandemonium type cards, but it is a good card. It works, offensively or defensively. If you can find a deck where it'll do both, that's amazing. Angelic Renewal. Now, this one I think is underappreciated. If any of your creatures are put into the graveyard from play, you can sacrifice this enchantment and put a creature into play. Now, would you pay 2 mana for an Animate Dead? Well, yeah, because that's what Animate Dead cost. But this is the difference here is Animate Dead, you spend the 2 mana after it's dead, and Angelic Renewal, you pay the 2 mana before it's dead. And it just comes right back into play. I like it. It is good for, not so much for sacrifice because it's just a one-shot deal, but for commanders, especially high casting cost commanders, I can see, a Chroma wanting this, or a big 7-8 mana commander. It's not amazing, but I have never seen anybody put this in a deck that is not me. Argivian Find. Now, what kills me about this is an instant. Return an artifact or enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. Just at instant speed. So, that is a good chunk of cards that we want to get back, especially in white. White does tend to be the equipment color. That's kind of their realm of the artifact pie. And heavy on enchantments, so yeah, for 1 mana instant at the end of the turn before you just snap, get that Joker back. Argivian Restoration. Now, this is it's not terribly efficient at 4 mana sorcery speed. However, it does put the artifact straight into play from your yard. So if you need that extra Mindslaver activation, or if you need that whatever back, you can get it. It doesn't happen a lot anymore. Aura of Silence. Now, this has been reprinted a couple of times, obviously in 10th edition. But now, I'm not exactly, I don't have the current wording on me. Some of the old cards that says target opponent. I believe this one does still say target opponent. But artifacts and enchantments costing 2 more to cast is a big deal. And then you can sack it to get a disenchant out of it. Oh, no. Wow. Okay. I just looked up the actual current wording because it was in a Commander 2015. And it says artifacts and enchantment spells your opponents cast. So this hits the entire table but you. And that's Oh, wow. 3 mana Soul Rings and, 3 mana or 5 mana Animate Dance, since that's a topic on top of my head. This is a good card. Can slow down a table, especially one that you're scared is going to get, run off and leave you. Debt of Loyalty. Now this one it's a fun one. Now I'll be honest with you, this may actually be on the list if I'm not mistaken. I don't think this has ever been reprinted, or not that many times if it has. Um, Regenerate target creature, gain control of that creature. Now, how many times you been in the game where somebody's board wiped? Right, all of them, just about. The ability to have this in response, because nowadays they don't really hose against regeneration like they used to with the old Wrath of God days. But the fact that we play a multiplayer format, and I love the idea of player B, blowing up the board, or player B killing player C's thing, and you're like, hey, you know what? I'll regenerate it and take it. Love it, love it. This is a mono white card that doesn't see a lot of play. I guess it has to be mono white, but Dingus Staff. Speaking of creatures dying, now we all know about the Dingus Egg that does the same thing to when a land hits the yard, they take 2 damage. But whenever a creature, this is, I think I've got this in a deck or two of like mono black targeted, or black just removal. Whoa. Now, granted, you can't play creature because this will hit you too. But take 2 every time a creature dies. And if you can pair that with the Ether Flash, and it'll just halt a token player. Doomsday. Now, I'm not going to get into... There are entire articles and I think websites and videos on just this card. This is amazing. I've just got it in here because it is there's a science on making your Doomsday pile, and exactly what you put in it, what order you put it in, but this is I don't know that I have ever seen Doomsday cast that player has not won the game. Most of the time, immediately. It's a great card. But when you see it, it's over. Imperial Armor is another. I've always loved this card, and I know there's an equipment version, but Imperial Plate. But this was the first, and obviously, at this time, equipment didn't exist yet. And the ability to just, especially put this on your commander, can take it from a 4-hit commander to a 2, or sometimes a 1-hit commander. So that's, here again, this may not be epic. It's just kind of one of my personal favorites. Whew. Firestorm. Boy, this is a big one. So you choose a discard. We're going to say, take a number 3. We're going to choose and discard 3 cards. It deals 3 damage to each of 3 targets. Whoa. Now, the higher you go, of course, the better the effect. Now, in heavy card drawing engines, where you have just an insane hand size, this can become a killing machine. Especially in late game. Hardly anybody stays at their 40, It can be good. The only problem here is I think this is the only time it's ever been printed, meaning I believe it's on the list. So, this was the set that gave us Gemstone Mine the first time. And believe it or not, this was uncommon at the time, I do believe. And okay, I'll be honest with you. We didn't know how good we had it. I don't think we appreciated it. I loved it. I played it. I played it like crazy, especially when that new Ravnica City of Guilds came out and gave us bounce lands. That was sweet. But like all, I mean, it taps for any color, and Gems or the doubling season put 6 counters on it, and now we have crazy proliferate mechanics. Gemstone mine used to be cheap; those days are gone. Lotus Veil, same thing. It, I don't think it was ever really dirt cheap, but this is just one of those great cards. It's super risky though, because if somebody's got a targeted land removal, a Field of Ruin or whatever, it hurts. It hurts bad because you have to sacrifice 2 untapped, therefore useful lands, and then this is it's a Lotus Veil, so it's beautiful, and it keeps climbing in price. And the longer the longer it does that, the more that flavor text makes sense. Mindstone. This was also the set that originally gave us Mindstone. Now for 2 mana, you get the colorless mana, which, well, we see that. It's not all the time, but we see that. But the ability to sack this and draw a card, we don't see on 2 mana rocks. We see that on 3 mana rocks. So it's good. I use it. Nature's Resurgence. Now, I love the fact this is in green, because it's card draw based around creatures, which is what green's pretty much always done. But it does help the table. Each player draws cards equal to the number of creatures in the yard in their yard. But there's a good chance we're going to have more, especially if I'm playing elves and I've convinced the elves that they can wear the skull cap. So, yeah, it's a real deal. Although, really, to be honest with you, if I'm doing that, I probably don't need Nature's Resurgence. But it does work into some green card draw, and I've never seen it cast in an EDH game anyway. Noble Benefactor. Now, this guy does see some play. He is what a lot of people call the group hug deck, although it's effectively group slug because you're helping everybody until, oh my gosh, what just happened, So it dies, everybody tutors. It's risky business, but you're betting when you're running this that the card you're getting is going to be better than the card everybody else is getting, or it'll just negate all the cards that everybody else is getting. Null Rod. Whoa. By the way, tapping is an activation. Anything before the colon is the activation. So, wow. Null Rod is kind of a huge, what's the polite way to say that? Yeah. Null Rod does command some attention. And you know what? That flavor text is amazing. But it doesn't do anything. No, it does nothing. Oh, and there was a play off of this, Dominara? Yeah. But, yeah. And if you really, really want to lose your friends quick, pop your Makos and Lattice in that deck. See what that does for you. Peacekeeper. This is another one of those cards in the pretty much a staple in like your fog decks and don't hit me. But creatures cannot attack. Now, yeah, you're going to pay 2 mana, but you know what? Creatures cannot attack. If you are trying to assemble some kind of combo in enchantments or artifacts or what have you, even anything, this will buy you time. However, your aggro stompy player at the table, this is target number 1. Pendrell Mist. Y'all see me play this time and time again. I've recently picked up a bunch more of them. They are actually climbing. This is another card that's all on the reserve list. Not everybody has Tabernacles because it's kind of cost prohibitive at this point. But for 4 mana, we can get an enchantment that does it. So, and it's only been printed this one time, and it is quite amazing. If you've got things like Mana Short, to where you can mana short someone during their upkeep, it taps all their lands and empties their pool. Yeah, that's a if you got a Pendril Mist out and you mana short somebody like that, yeah, that's officially shots fired. Then we got a Psychic Vortex. Now, cumulative upkeep, draw a card. So it doesn't outline the way cumulative upkeep works. During your upkeep, you put an age counter on it, and then you pay the upkeep for each age counter on it. So you put the age counter on, then you draw a card. In the second turn, you put the second age counter on, then you draw 2 cards. So you just keep drawing more and more cards. Now, however, at the end of each of your turns, you sack a land and drop your hand. Yeah. So sacking the land part. Okay, so I think what this is meant to do is, yes, you can draw all these cards, but you're not going to advance your game, your position in the game. So, but we know how to get around all that. All you got to do is, number one, you have to make your land drop every turn, or else you're going to get behind. But with things like the Crucible, even if you don't happen to draw a land, you can play one that you've sacked. So, and if you play all the cards in your hand, then you have nothing to discard. So, I mean, this is, here again, I have never seen, even in 60 card, in 40, in my 20-something years of playing with this card, I have never seen this card cast. And you know what? I'm at fault there too, because I don't think I've ever cast it either. It just looks beautifully sweet. Relearn. This was the set that gave us Relearn. Closest thing we're going to get. I mean, it's an instant or sorcery now that it regrows. More times than not, what it does is it gets back your Time Twister type effect or your Time Stretch or whatever. Yeah. If you've got that instant or sorcery that you want to play more than once and you're in blue, this is the way to do it. Scorched Ruins is a colorless version of the Lotus Veil. It 2 untapped lands, but you get 4 colors. Tapping a land for 4 mana. That's just good, clean living right there. This is also, steadily climbing in price. Now, Tranquil Grove is, I love it. There's a lot of decks where this is my only enchantment because, well, for obvious reasons. There's enchantments, especially with the Commander offering that they gave us last year. This is a real card. I mean, I love it. And it's cheap to cast, it's cheap to activate for what it does. Yeah, that's the same cost as a Tranquility, but you know what? This is reusable, and especially against some of these recurring. Oh, Bruna, sit down. Veteran Explorer. Now, 2 basic lands. Put them into play. Just straight put them into play, not tapped or anything. Another one of those. We're gonna speed this game up. Somebody will typically play it on turn 1 and swing it at somebody who can block and kill it, just to ramp the game up. And while I'm kind of here for that sometimes, because if you get in a big game and there's 5, 6, 7 players, that game could potentially take a while, and the game's got to end. The game's got to end so we can play another game, right? So that's what I like it. I don't play it a lot unless it's now I could see maybe pairing this with Ob. You wouldn't be doing it on turn 1 then, but hey, if you want it bad enough, and if not, I'm just going to get ahead. It's all right. I like it. I don't really love it. Now, Winding Canyons is on the list, but it is actually sweet. It's kind of deceptive in the 2 colorless activation, but because I mean you have to tap this land +2, so it's effectively 3. So that's kind of the downside here is it will you're going to do it crazy late game because you've got to have 3 lands plus whatever mana you're going to use to play your creature that you just got to play at instant speed. So more than likely, this is in a heavy ramp deck, or it's a late game thing, or you're just, in response, here's Ula. Now, it doesn't say from your hand, so you can totally put your commander in at instant speed, which I really like. And that is what I've got for Weatherlight. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think about this. I was going to do it for like a lot of the old sets and just see what that set gave EDH. And like I said, there's probably a lot more cards in Weatherlight that I missed somehow, but those were the ones that just struck me, either that I don't see a lot and I think we should probably see more. But I like it, and I'll probably keep doing it on a lot of the older sets, and maybe even all the way up because well, we've got a lot of sets to choose from. So I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But I believe that's what we've got for today. So y'all take care.